Okay, so this is going to be my official Josh Taylor versus Jack Catteral prediction. For those of you who might not know, Jack Catteral is a pretty good undefeated fighter. He's certainly nothing I would call a bum. He's a tough kid, tough little English lad there. Uh, Comes southpaw, comes to fight. He's undefeated. Not the biggest puncher in the world, but he's got enough pop to keep you honest, etc., so forth. And he also comes to fight, as I'm showing you here. But let's go through the tail of the tape. And if you haven't seen some of Jack Cattrall's fights, I think you should go watch them. He's no pushover by any stretch of the imagination, but let's go through the tail of the tape. So Jack Cattrall stands at 5'7", has a 67-inch reach. He's 28 years old. He is a southpaw, and he has a record of 26-0 with 13 wins coming by way of knockout. Josh Taylor, the only undisputed champion that matters in boxing right now, because Canelo Alvarez is a drug-cheating pussy. Josh Taylor is 5'10", has a 69.5-inch reach, is 30 years old, is also a southpaw, and has a record of 18-0 with 13 wins coming by way of knockout. This is a very, very good fight, man. I think it's a good fight for Josh Taylor to defend his undisputed crown against. I think Jack Cattrall will give him a tough fight. Like I said, Jack Cattrall is no slouch, man. He brings it. He comes to fight. He's a lefty, good combination puncher, etc. Nice jab, good overhand left, etc. so forth. He comes to fight. Good first opponent for Josh Taylor to defend his undisputed crown against, though. And I think this is going to be a fun fight, people. Go professionals. I mean, Josh Taylor's fought everybody in the top 5 at 140, okay? He's fought everybody in the top 5 at 140 aside of one name, which I'll get into in a minute here. But I think Josh Taylor, his reach, his height, his experience at that highest level, and also his amateur pedigree is what's going to win him this fight. I think Jack Cattrall will put up a very, very valiant effort, and I do believe that his stock will rise after this fight. I do believe that Jack Cattrall's stock will rise after this fight. I think he'll come to fight, and he'll give Josh Taylor a good little test there. But eventually, I think Josh Taylor's experience, his height, his reach, his punching power, and everything will be a little bit too much for Jack Cattrall to sustain. And I think Josh Taylor is going to knock Jack Cattrall out. I'm going to say somewhere around the 8th or 9th round. Now, again, I think Jack Cattrall is an excellent fighter. He's a good fighter on the rise. It's somebody to keep an eye on, as they used to say back in the day. You know, like I say, I just think Josh Taylor. Like I say, he's just on a roll right now, man. He's one of the 3 or 4 best pound for pound fighters in the sport. I mean, he almost cleaned out the entire 140-pound division. He's the only undisputed champion that matters in boxing right now because Canelo sucks. And like I say, and if you factor all them things in together, his height, his reach, his punching power, his experience not only in the amateur ranks but in the professional ranks as well. I mean, the dude's beat Regis Prograis in one of the best fights of the last 2 or 3 years. He basically dominated Ramirez. I gave Ramirez 3 or 5. I had that fight for the undisputed crown with Jose Ramirez. I had that fight 8 rounds to 4 plus 2 knockdowns. I had it 116, 110. So, yeah, not to mention he beat guys like Victor Postal, who's a very good fighter. Very underrated fighter. He beat Baranchik, you know, he hasn't looked great lately, but I think that Zepeda war took a lot out of him, but still a good win nevertheless. But anyways, so I do think, for my official prediction, I'm going with Josh Taylor to win this fight by late TKO. I think his hand speed, his foot speed, and his experience will just overwhelm Jack Cattrall. I do think Jack Cattrall will give him a good fight. But eventually, Josh Taylor will, like I say, everything. All not to keep repeating myself, but the punching power, the footwork, the experience, the head movement, everything's just going to prove to be a little bit too much for Jack Catteral, and I think he TKOs him in the 8th, 9th, 10th round, something like that. Now, I want to say this, and I don't like to look past any guy, as nobody should. But if Josh Taylor is to successfully defend his undisputed 140-pound crown against Jack Catteral, and he can't get a Terrence Crawford fight if Terrence Crawford leaves Top Rank, I want Josh Taylor, to defend his undisputed title one more time at 140 before he makes the jump up to 147, because he said himself that he's making the jump up to 147. And the person who I want Josh Taylor to defend his undisputed crown against before moving up is Jose Zepeda. He's the only fighter in the top 5 that Josh Taylor hasn't fought. He dominated Jose Ramirez. He decisively beat Victor Postal, and he had a great war with Regis Prograis. So that's the only fighter in the top 5 that Josh Taylor hasn't defeated. So should Josh Taylor defend his undisputed crown successfully against Jack Catteral, in my personal opinion, and if he can't get a Terrence Crawford fight, if Terrence Crawford goes to the PBC, whatever, then I want to see him defend that undisputed crown one more time, and I want it to be against Jose Zepeda. And if Josh Taylor does decide to stay at 140 for another fight or two, I do believe that Bob Arum will make that fight happen. But for my official prediction, I think Jack Catteral will give a good account of himself in this fight. He does come to fight. He's a quick lefty, undefeated, etc., so forth. With decent punching power, but good combinations, etc. But I just see Josh Taylor overwhelming him with height, reach, experience, too fast combination punching, head movement, footwork, etc., so forth. And I see Josh Taylor TKOing him in the 8th or 9th round. But yeah, I got Josh Taylor TKO and Jack Catteral in the 8th or 9th round in a pretty competitive fight. So with all that being said, please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. God bless you all, and have a wonderful day. Salute.